So, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whatever happens to be while you're watching. A friend of mine talked me into this one, so figured I'd do another quick video for you. Um, just to get it out there, the media doesn't officially call shit. It's strictly their take, their opinion based on numbers, data, uh, post-voting polls, etc., etc., etc. It's meaningless except for two contexts. So just so everybody understands, and I'm not trying to insult anybody's intelligence, but the official process is you cast a ballot as a voter. It gets tallied by your local officials at your polling location. They send their results to their county officials. The county officials validate or certify the results from the precincts within their county. The county's results get rolled up to the state, ultimately to the Secretary of the State, because that's the person in charge of the state election boards. They verify, certify the results, and then they're forwarded up to Congress. The Secretary of the State is the one after their votes have been verified and certified. Certified being the key words. That is when a politician wins a state. Once all the states are in and certified, then Congress is the one that officially announces who won the presidency in January or sometimes December. So, however, the caveats to this are there are several states that have a mandatory recount trigger. So, if the vote is within a certain amount of votes, meaning in this case, Trump has 2 million votes and Biden gets 2,000,001 vote, that triggers an automatic state level recount. It's in their constitution to do so. It's in their voter laws, etc. So this isn't one politician crying about losing. The state has the automatic triggers when it comes to recounts if the vote is close enough. There's also mandatory recounts if votes don't reach a certain threshold. It doesn't usually happen, but it usually does when it comes to congressional and senatorial races, never really the governmental races. Or I'm sorry, the presidential races. So states like Georgia, as an example, right now the vote was still within 1,000 votes. That's an automatic trigger. Rule of thumb is if there's only a less than 1% spread in the votes, it's an automatic recount conducted by the state under no obligation or pressure from anybody because that's their law. Okay. If there are lawsuits pending and the courts rule that a recount is necessary, certain ballots have to be reviewed or certain ballots have to be removed from the count, etc., then the state Secretary of State cannot verify or certify that state's counts because there's certain a number of ballots that are in dispute. Until that lawsuit is settled, whether it's pro or con to whoever filed the suit, it's irrelevant. Until that lawsuit is settled, then the state can't, until that point, the state cannot certify their count, which means the state's not certified as to one candidate or the other. Okay. So right now we currently have lawsuits in, I know the one in Georgia got squashed, but I think it's since been refiled. Multiple lawsuits in Pennsylvania, lawsuits in Wisconsin, lawsuit in Minnesota, and lawsuits in Nevada. So keeping in mind, it isn't just Trump and or his campaign that are filing suit. There's individual voters that have filed suit, specifically in Pennsylvania. If your vote is illegally thrown out, you have the legal right to sue the state election board because they have violated your right to vote. That's one of the things that's happening in Pennsylvania. So yes, the media came out and claimed that the Biden won, right? It's meaningless except for two contexts. So regardless what the fuck the media is saying, nobody has won. Not all the states have certified their votes. Until the votes are certified by the Secretary of State of each and every state, the vote is not official. Okay, so the media calling a race has an impact under two different contexts. One, it's to sway popular opinion. The media is in the tank for the left. That is beyond dispute, beyond debate. There's no more question about it. So the media wants the left to win. So the media is pushing the narrative through all their channels, because keep it in mind, there's only 6 businesses that own over 95% of the media you see on TV and on radio. Okay, so they want the left to win. So they're going to, there's a court of public opinion, and then there's a court of law. So the media is trying to use the court of popular opinion to sway the court because of the pending court cases. I say that because if a state's results are in dispute, okay, and nobody in the media has called a winner for that state because there's disputes, right? Then the judicial system will go in and review, make rulings, require investigations, etc. Okay, they'll do that as a matter of law, as long as obviously there is substantiating law to back the claim, as long as the claim is in line with the state constitution and state in that particular state's election laws. Then the court will come in and rule, recount or throw those ballots out, whatever they're going to rule. Okay. However, courts are swayed by public opinion. Unfortunately, they shouldn't be, because you're supposed to be justice is blind and the law is the law. However, if they being the courts, are going to be hard pressed to change or overturn an election. Hear me out. The election is not official because the states have not certified their ballots. However, the press has called the election in favor of Biden. They have now used that to sway the court of popular opinion. The weight of popular opinion is going to sway the courts. So if there is a lawsuit that would normally get passed or furthered or backed or investigation started, etc., now the court is really going to look at that and go, do we want to get involved with this? Because then we could lose our seats next election. We could lose our appointments. Judges can be impeached. The ones that are appointed for lifetime for SCOTUS, they can be impeached and removed from office. So these judges are going to be very, very hard pressed to overturn. Let's just say, as an example, they called Pennsylvania today. I think there's 7, maybe 8 outstanding lawsuits in Pennsylvania. So the press has called Pennsylvania for Biden. If the court starts going into this, they're going to look at this going, okay, we're about to overturn the results of the election. So if you didn't dot an I in your filing, they're going to throw it out. If you didn't cross a T in your filing, they're going to throw it out. If you didn't, as the plaintiff, follow the exact letter of the law and leave them no wiggle room, they're going to throw out your case. That alleviates them from having to shoulder the responsibility of enforce or following the law. Now they can just say, hey, not our problem. They misfiled. They filed the wrong paper. They didn't dot this I across this T. So now the court system will wash their hands of this issue. That is state courts, state Supreme Courts, federal appeals courts, and SCOTUS. Watch what happens in all this. Now that the media has called all of this, there's probably the best example of what's going to happen is there's a lawsuit where the Republicans are supposed to be allowed to, as part of the election law in the state of Pennsylvania, they're supposed to have observers observing the process of counting to make sure everything's above board, right? So if the Republican observers weren't allowed in the room, although the Democrats were, so they filed a lawsuit. They said, no, you got to let them in. Well, then the precincts or the place that they're counting them, I'm sorry, this was in Michigan, my bad, they wouldn't let them back in. So they came back to the court, and the court said, no, you will. So now the Democrat people have filed a counter lawsuit. So now the judge or the courts are now in the purview of, we're about to overturn results of election. Which way are they going to rule? Do you think a court was going to take it, even if it is a blatant, observable, provable, demonstrable matter of fact that fraud, not voter fraud, election fraud happened? You better, as the plaintiff, have all your ducks exactly in a row with no deviance whatsoever, or they're going to throw it out. Watch what happens in these cases is going to happen. So anyway, media calling the race doesn't mean shit from a legal standpoint, because they're not part of the process of declaring the winner of the election. That's the state election board in conjunction with the Secretary of State for each state that calls, verifies, and proffers the official vote of that state. Until that happens, nothing's official. And as I know right now, the 7th of November at 9:06 p.m., not one state has certified their election results. The media is trying to use the court of public opinion to sway the court of law to go in their favor. That's what's happening. So just now you know.